Today, our motivational topic is From Zero to Hero. Struggle to failure to comeback. Let's start the video. Sleepless nights, empty bank accounts, unopened emails, and silent failures that occurred long before the applause are things you don't see on social media. Every name you look up to has a backstory filled with humiliation, rejection, and public failure. Companies that failed, careers that came to a halt, dreams that everyone else thought were stupid. It is evident from statistics that the majority of extremely successful people did not succeed on their first attempt. Before they succeeded, they failed, sometimes terribly, sometimes loudly. And a lot of them had multiple failures. What distinguishes those who resign from those who return is the true question then. When things collapse, why do some people leave while others rebuild from the ashes? It isn't just about success, it's about resilience. It's about standing up when everything inside you says, stop. In this video, you will hear stories of failure that didn't look heroic at the time, but became powerful turning points. Different stories that prove success isn't about talent alone. It's about who refuses to stay down when life knocks them flat. Stay with me. This might change how you see your own struggle. Society teaches us from our earliest years that failure marks the boundary which we cannot cross. People receive instruction to avoid errors because they should only choose safe options, and they must always avoid making wrong choices. Failure is treated like a verdict instead of what it really is, a checkpoint, a pause, a moment that asks, what did you learn? This fear is made worse by the modern world's highlight reel culture. We scan across success daily, millions of views, promotions, prizes, and ideal lives. What we do not see are the years of doubt, the quiet breakdowns, and the long stretches where nothing worked. We are comparing our behind the scenes to someone else's final cut, and that comparison convinces us that something is wrong with us when we struggle. The structure of most actual comeback stories consists of 3 distinct acts, which all return to the same pattern. Act 1, the dream, the beginning, the excitement of starting something new, believing it will work, imagining the future. Act 2, the crash. Plans fall apart, rejection shows up, money runs out, confidence cracks. This is the part most people try to hide or quit in. Act 3, the rise. Not instant success, but growth, reflection, adjustment. The decision to stand back up wiser than before. Failure is not a sign that your story is over. It is proof that you are somewhere in the middle. Many years ago, she became a worldwide icon. Oprah Winfrey became virtually a young woman with a voice and a perception that her story mattered. She was born in deep poverty, facing abuse, instability, and constant reminders that the world expected very little from her. But Oprah was of the view that communication was a powerful tool. She dreamed of being on television. She had not wished for fame, but to connect, to speak truth, and to be heard. The struggle arrived immediately from every possible source. The young broadcaster failed to meet the industry's established standards for her profession. She received feedback that her emotional expression was excessive for her role, too personal, too different. Her industry saw her vulnerable state as a defect because it preferred polished performers who could maintain a perfect image. Self-doubt crept in, reinforced by voices telling her she did not belong where decisions were made. Then came the failure moment that could have ended everything. Oprah was fired from her job as a television news anchor. The reason was brutal in its simplicity. She was not right for news. For many, that would have been the final confirmation of their fears, the proof that the dream was unrealistic. She became embarrassed, publicly rejected, and uncertain about her future. But this was the turning point. Instead of trying to become what the system wanted, Oprah made a powerful decision. She would lean into who she already was. Her empathy was not a flaw. It was her strength. She shifted into daytime television, a space where connection mattered more than perfection. The comeback was remarkable. She not only created a successful discussion show, but she also revolutionized the medium. Her work reshaped media, empowered millions, and created a platform rooted in honesty, growth, and human stories. The lesson is simple but profound. Sometimes failure is not rejection, it is redirection. When the world tells you no, it may be pushing you toward the place where you truly belong. Steve Jobs had accomplished what most people only dream of by the time he was in his early 30s. He became the face of innovation itself, co-founded Apple, and contributed to the beginning of the personal computer revolution. He was intelligent, youthful, and quite successful. That is precisely why his fall was so disastrous. However, success brought its own dangers. Internal power struggles, clashing egos, and Jobs' own intense management style created tension in Apple. Both boardroom politics and fear of his bold vision slowly turned allies into opponents. The company he helped create started to force him out as market pressures increased and trust eroded. Success brought its own set of hazards. According to the statement, the internal power struggles and clashing egos, together with Jobs' intense management style, created a tense environment at Apple. His boardroom politics, together with his bold vision, made former allies into his adversaries. Then came the moment of failure, one of the most agonizing and widely reported in the history of modern business. Apple terminated Steve Jobs, taken away from the very organization that bore his name and his recognition. He went from being a visionary leader to an outsider overnight. It was dubbed a downfall by the media. His achievement, according to critics, was a result of luck. For Jobs, it was humiliation on a personal level, in addition to a loss of a job. However, he did something surprising rather than vanish. He took a step back. He thought. He then began anew. Jobs continued to rebuild in silence during this time. He bought a small animation firm that would eventually become Pixar and started Next, a business devoted to cutting-edge computing. Although these years weren't simple or immediately prosperous, they changed the way he thought. He gained patience. He became a better leader. He rediscovered the original reason he enjoyed creating. Then followed the bigger-than-expected return. Apple, struggling without him, brought Steve Jobs back. The organization experienced a transformation because of its return to operation before the establishment of the new system. The company introduced groundbreaking products which transformed all three domains of technology, design, and cultural practices. The company achieved beyond its previous highest point because it attained complete recovery from its difficulties. The lesson is powerful. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Even at the highest level, falling doesn't mean you're finished. Sometimes losing everything is what teaches you how to build something greater than before. Let's now turn the attention from well-known names and news to a story that seems far more relatable. This concerns a regular individual, not a spotlight, no cheers. It was merely a life that gradually collapsed. It was an easy beginning, an ordinary job, a small salary. commonplace aspirations, security, dignity, and perhaps a brighter future for their family. Nothing ostentatious, only the hope that diligence would suffice. It was for a time. Then suddenly, the struggle came. A sudden decline in employment. Bills are mounting, savings disappearing faster than expected, sleepless nights filled with fear and self-blame. Confidence began to erode, replaced by a painful question: what if I am not good enough anymore? The person experienced their breaking point during an ordinary evening. He sat by himself while he looked at overdue bills and received phone calls which he could not answer. The situation reached its maximum possible load. The decision to stop working appeared simpler than remaining with his job for one terrifying instant. He stopped working because he believed his situation would not improve. The situation reached its most extreme point. The state existed in a silent form which remained undetected while it created overwhelming effects. The turn didn't arrive as a miracle. The small, unglamorous decision created multiple results, which became the basis for everything that followed.
The decision to wake up the next morning and do one useful thing.
The person chose to update their resume, make one phone call, and learn a new skill by studying online, and accept a smaller opportunity instead of waiting for the perfect one. His life faced numerous challenges, which brought him multiple obstacles to overcome. Progress moved at a slow pace, which would make most people give up, yet it still counted as progress. The process of life restoration began to take effect throughout the passage of time. The extension of life created something valuable, which developed through time into an enduring achievement. The person obtained a job which brought him both stability and a regular daily pattern. The return of dignity to the person occurred through gradual steps. The person learned 3 skills, which built their strength to endure, their capacity to stay calm, and their ability to have self-worth, which comes from facing difficulties instead of achieving success. The comeback wasn't a headline. No one applauded. The process of life restoration brought back life to the individual through 3 vital elements which had never existed in him before. Your actual comeback requires no spectacular elements for validation. Your life continues because you persist through challenges while making progress. The strongest victories occur through silent moments of achievement. So what do all these stories have in common? Different lives, different failures, but the same pattern beneath them. Comebacks don't just happen. They adhere to a framework. You can then apply it to your own life after you have a better understanding of it. Step 1. Accept the fall. You cannot rebuild what you refuse to acknowledge is broken. Denial delays recovery. Acceptance is not weakness, it is honesty. Saying, "This didn't work," is the first act of strength. Step 2. Find your why again. Before the failure, there was a reason you started. A dream, a need, a belief. Failure can bury that purpose under shame and fear. Your job is to dig it back up, not to impress others, but to remind yourself why these matters to you. Step 3. Start smaller than you think. Most people fail again because they try to bounce back too big, too fast. Real comebacks begin with tiny, consistent actions. One habit, one skill, one daily commitment. Momentum is built quietly. Step 4. Protect your energy. Rebuilding requires emotional discipline. Not everyone deserves access to your struggle. Distance yourself from constant negativity, doubt, and comparison. Surround yourself with people or ideas that reinforce growth, not fear. Step 5. Reframe the failure. This may be the hardest step, but it is the most powerful. The failure did not happen to you, it happened for you. It revealed weaknesses, clarified priorities, and forced growth that comfort never would. A comeback is not about returning to who you were. It is about becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more intentional than before. Psychology provides a powerful truth that most people tend to ignore. People can achieve personal development through their experiences of hardship. Researchers call it post-traumatic growth. The idea that people can emerge from failure, loss, or trauma not just recovered, but stronger, clearer, and more capable than before. When people handle difficulties through proper methods, their ability to handle life challenges increases while their understanding of life expands. The distinction between the two concepts requires understanding because both concepts share some characteristics. Resilience functions as a survival mechanism that acquires new knowledge through its learning process and develops itself into a new state. Stubbornness remains unchanged between its past actions and its current ones, which people believe will produce different results. The resilient individual lets go of ineffective methods to develop new approaches that lead to improved future results. Identity lies at the core of resilience. Someone locks himself into the past the instant they declare, "I am a failure." The statement, "I experienced failure, but that is not who I am," is one that resilient people make instead. Self-worth and results are separated by this change, and that distinction is crucial. This notion is supported by neuroscience. No doubt, failure activates the brain's learning centers. It forces it to create new pathways. When reflection replaces shame, the brain literally rewires itself, improving problem-solving, emotional regulation, and future decision-making. In simple words, failure does not damage you by default. Avoidance does. Failure becomes a training ground for future success when faced directly. Resilience is not about being unbreakable. It is about being rebuildable. The question we posed at the start of this video was, what distinguishes those who quit from those who return? You know now. It is not a stroke of luck. It's not a gift. This is the ability to get back up after falling. It is fortitude, introspection, and the guts to take the first small step when your inner voice tells you to stop. Your failure is not the end of your story. Every setback, every rejection, every embarrassing no you have faced is a chance to rewrite the story on your terms. The goal of the comeback is to show yourself that you can persevere no matter how deep you have fallen, not to get praise or make headlines. Most people want a comeback, but they never lock it into action. Goals stay in the head, not on record. According to a widely cited behavior study from the Dominican University of California, people who write down a specific goal and share it with others are about 33% more likely to follow through. When nothing is stated, nothing is anchored. The intention fades, and daily habits take over again. You have probably felt this cycle. You get motivated, maybe even convinced. Then a day passes, then a week. The goal quietly disappears, not because you are incapable, but because the starting line was never clearly drawn. Without a visible commitment, the brain treats the goal as optional. Over time, that turns into frustration. You start questioning your discipline instead of the system that failed you. So, here is the challenge. In the comments, write down one goal you will commit to as part of your comeback. Keep it concrete. Big or small does not matter. What matters is starting. A case study from a workplace performance trial showed that employees who committed publicly to one small, measurable action increased task completion within 2 weeks. No motivation speeches, just clarity and accountability. This is not meant to be a one-time push. In the next video, we will go deeper into the habits and mental patterns that help people sustain progress after they start. You will see practical strategies you can apply tomorrow, not someday. Some will work for you, some will not. That is normal. Momentum is built through testing, adjusting, and continuing forward. Start here, make it visible, then keep moving.